All right, hey parents. I want to talk to you guys today about one of the most common questions that we get as coaches of youth athletes at athletics, youth being high school level and below. And that is, how does my child, or how do I, if it's the child asking, put on weight or put on muscle mass as a youth athlete? Okay. And so there's a couple of, this is a multifaceted answer here, so we want to talk about the most important things that you can do if you are a parent, all right? So if you're a child watching this or you're an athlete watching this, this will help and benefit you as well, but this is specifically for the parent because they're in a unique position to benefit the youth athlete because they're ultimately in control of the bulk of that athlete's diet, all right, assuming they're the ones making most of the meals for them, okay? So with that, I have three things that I want to touch on today, and we'll go into a little bit of detail on each one. The first one is setting the tone. So this basically means that setting an example for your child is the best thing that you can do for them to help them be healthy, but also help them gain muscle mass and improve their health and performance. So what we tend to see is that the youth athletes with the best nutritional habits are the ones that have parents that have the best nutritional habits. So it's not going to go very well if you're trying to ask your child to eat well or to eat in a way that's going to help them gain weight or gain muscle or improve performance if you yourself are not abiding by those same rules or those same guidelines, okay? So for example, we want your child to go ahead and get 3 to 4 protein servings a day from whole food sources, all right? That's a large number for a high school athlete. If you yourself are not eating at least 3 whole foods protein sources a day, and instead you're opting for easy options that don't necessarily abide by that, they're going to have a hard time abiding by that themselves because it's not easy to get great food in that we'd like to get in to be able to gain muscle mass. All right? It's definitely a bit of a chore at first when you're first learning how to do it, and they're going to need parental support by way of an example outside of just you telling them what to do and just buying food for them to get buy-in at first. All right? So the best thing you can do, again, educate yourself and start a dialogue with your child trying to help them understand why you're making the decisions that you're making and that it's in the best interest of the health of your entire family, and also that it's going to be conducive to them improving their muscle mass and improving their performance on the field, or court, or ice, whatever it happens to be. Okay, so setting the tone. Make sure that you're educating yourself and your child. Number 2, increase the amount of protein that they're getting. Number 1 flaw in most of our athletes' diet is that they are not getting nearly enough protein. Almost all of them know in today's day and age that they need to be getting a protein serving in post-workout because it's this anabolic time when our body needs protein in order to start the recovery process after the hard training that we've done. However, they're totally losing sight of the fact that that is just a small piece of the protein pie that you need to be getting in during the day. Right? Generally, we recommend our athletes, especially our highly active ones that are doing either doing a sport and doing training on top of that, they need to get at least a pound of protein per gram of protein per pound of body weight in a day. Okay, so if you have a 150-pound male athlete, they need to be getting at least 150 grams of protein in a day. Generally speaking, an easy way without getting neurotic about counting that, if they're getting at least 3 to 4 decent-sized protein servings in a day, that's like a meat source the size of their fist. That would be probably sufficient enough for that athlete. That goes for males as well as females. Okay, so making sure they're getting those protein servings in, not only in the form of a shake or a bar post-workout, but also at the other meals that they're eating as well. Now, at the high school level, we'll acknowledge that it's really hard to be in perfect control of all the meals that they eat. So yeah, it would be ideal if you're making eggs for them every single morning before they go to school, and then you're sending them to lunch with some type of meat or a sandwich that has a decent chunk of protein in it, and then you're making a meal for them at night. But a lot of times that's just not feasible. So what we would recommend is that for most athletes that that may not have a weight issue of any kind, definitely supplement with some protein bars, whey protein shakes, so on and so forth. These things are great supplements to their diet in order to make sure that they're meeting that protein number. So it's very challenging as a high school athlete with the kind of schedules that they have to make sure that they're eating enough. And most of them that are wanting to put on weight anyway are probably not disposed to think about eating very often anyway. So the more you can kind of plug the gaps with some of these convenient options, the better that is. You can also do this with whole food sources if you want to do things like hard-boiled eggs. That's a nice convenient option as well. So with that, just to put a bow on that, making sure that you're talking to your athlete about getting enough protein in, and that you are facilitating that by either providing those protein options, or helping them understand where they can get that if you're not able to provide it at the time. Okay, so again, educating them on that. Finally, making sure you feed them. This is the second biggest flaw that I see in our youth athletes. They simply don't eat enough. All right, these kids have very, very high metabolisms. They're very active. Most of the ones that we see anyway are playing a sport and also doing training on top of that. So they're at a stage in their lives where they do need a lot of food, but they're also incredibly busy, so there's not a lot of time to get food in. So when possible, make sure you are feeding them. Okay? And also try and give them snacks, give them things that they can eat while they're at school between classes, and educate them on why they need to be eating as frequently as they can. We don't necessarily want to be just like eating junk food in these instances. We want to make sure that we're eating pretty decent quality foods, and I don't want to go into details on what exactly that looks like today. But talking about the frequency of eating with your child will help them put on weight, okay, and will help them get strong. Some really convenient ways that you can make sure that your child's getting in enough food is things like the pancake diet, all right? So this is a ridiculous way of doing this that is just going to kind of articulate an example of and prove a point as to why it is possible for these kids to do it. It's not that there's just there's no way that they can possibly put weight on. But the pancake diet is basically saying every time they eat a meal that's under your control, you're going to serve them a short stack of pancakes with syrup after they're done eating it. Okay. And now, are pancakes the best option? Maybe not, but if you have a child that's looking to put on some weight, they need calories, all right? And pancakes are something that typically every child is going to look forward to eating, even if they are full. And that's what you really need here. You need calorie-dense options that are going to provide them with the additional nutrients they need to build muscle mass. So it's got to be something that they're going to look forward to eating. If you're trying to shove more rice and potatoes down your kid's throat after they've already eaten their supper, you're going to be hard-pressed to see them have the will to do that. So making sure that you're providing them options that they're going to look forward to eating that aren't the worst things in the world. So ice cream may not be perfect, but again, the priority should be getting them enough food. So do what you have to do to make that happen. So these three things, setting the tone, teaching them about good quality nutritional habits will help them, and being there as an example that leads them down the path to success is going to be the biggest thing that you can do. Number two, protein, finding a way to get them to eat a fist-sized serving of whole food source protein 3 to 4 times a day. And additionally, supplementing that with bars and shakes will help them a lot. And then finally, making sure that they're eating enough. So do what you can to provide enough food options that don't make you go broke, but also help them get enough calories in the form of foods that they look forward to eating to help them really improve their muscle mass and improve their performance as well. So hopefully that kind of addresses the best things that you can do as parents. We're obviously here as a resource if you want more expertise on how exactly to do these and some of the more concrete tactics that you might be able to use. If you have any specific instances or specific hurdles that you go over with your child or their schedule, we obviously can help with that as well. So feel free to reach out if anything comes up. All right, thanks guys for the time today. Again, follow up with us if you have any comments, questions.